Hi everyone, and welcome to On the Couch. We're here tonight to talk all things blockchain. I'm Xander Smart, and this is Meg. Yeah, is it working?
No, I don't think it's working. Yeah, blank.
It's working? Alright, perfect. So, Meg, do you want to just give a quick introduction of yourself and what you do at Accenture?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Meghana, and I joined Accenture about 3 years ago. So, in my personal time, I work on a number of different projects, including a blog about blockchain that's hosted on my own website. And within Accenture, I worked on a number of different roles. And recently, I started working on a blockchain use case where we explore how to solve certain client problems. So yeah, Sandra, would you like to give a quick
Yeah,
intro
of course. So I've been working with Accenture for a few years now. Currently working in the blockchain space. So really got interested in blockchain in about 2015 when Bitcoin started taking off, and then when Ethereum came around, that piqued my interest again, and then ICOs middle of last year. Found that really fascinating, huge flows of capital moving around the world. Thought that was really interesting, and then started applying that in my Accenture career in the background of blockchain there. So yeah.
All right, great.
Do you want to just give a quick overview of blockchain technology just for the people tuning in?
Yeah, sure. So blockchain, basically how I would describe it is, blockchain is a distributed digital ledger that sits on a network of computers and uses cryptography to enable people to transact with each other in a trustless manner without the need for any intermediaries. So let me break that down a little bit. Blockchain is a distributed ledger. You can think of a ledger as a database. So with current traditional systems, there's one database controlled by one organization, but with distributed ledgers, it's a number of databases sitting across a network of computers. And cryptography is used to make sure that each database is not a duplicate, and make sure that each database is just accurate. So what I find is really unique about blockchain is that you can use it to build applications that function without the need for any intermediaries. Yeah.
Okay. And how are we seeing that play out in an Australian context?
Yeah, so Australia has been pretty receptive to blockchain. There's been a number of startups that's trying to use blockchain technology to solve a number of different problems.
Yeah.
So for example, Powerledger is a pretty recent startup that is based out of Perth. And what it does is it allows people to buy and sell energy. And that's been pretty great, and yeah, there's a lot of hype around that one, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one place Australia's been quite lucky is our regulators have been on the front foot.
Yep.
So they really came out quite early on in the piece and were quite clear on what they wanted to see from cryptocurrency companies and how they wanted blockchain to be used within Australia. Whereas I know other major economies around the world have been a bit slower to adopt.
Yep.
And really embrace this technology. So I think, it's really cleared up a lot of the misinformation and de-risked the space a lot more, which is now why we're seeing big corporates go into the space. And I think that's, in Accenture especially, we're starting to see a lot more demand come from our existing legacy clients who really want to start to migrate some of their processes onto the blockchain and look for efficiencies and new business models there. Perfect.
And and a great example of existing companies that's trying to incorporate blockchain is the Australian Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
So they're actually trying to incorporate blockchain into their operations, and which is definitely going to give them quite a few benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anywhere where you've got a number of different parties all looking at the same data set, it really helps a lot to increase efficiencies there. So supply chain, for example, I know we did some work with DHL around pharmaceuticals and tracking them from point of production all the way through into the consumer's hand. So giving that point of visibility on a supply chain end to end to a number of different parties that don't necessarily trust each other is a huge value add and something that blockchain can uniquely solve for.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so for people wanting to get into this space, I know Accenture's obviously on the front foot and we're producing courses internally and with RMIT. But what's your experience been around getting involved in the space?
So I think that pretty much anyone who has an interest in blockchain can get involved. So you basically with blockchain, there's going to be a number of skills that businesses are going to be looking for. Skills like being able to build new operations and new operating models and new processes for your business. and customer service is always going to be useful. And you also have to think about the people currently in the organization and how to upskill them and utilize all the knowledge that they already have about your organization. And this is, of course, on top of skills required to build blockchain systems, which can work with legacy systems right now. And
yeah, absolutely. I think because blockchain is such a new technology, we are seeing people from such diverse backgrounds moving into the blockchain space. So I know within Accenture we've got people moving from all different parts of the business into blockchain to learn about it more, as well as talk to our clients about it and try and deliver value. And I think that's going to play out across all of Australia and the broader ecosystem as well, where you've got people that might not have done a degree in blockchain because one doesn't exist yet, and they're upskilling in that area and they're trying to deliver value where they can.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Fantastic. I know we've got on that front, I know we've got a partnership with RMIT.
Yes.
Do you want to just talk about that a bit?
Yeah, sure. So Accenture's partnered with RMIT and Stone and Chalk, which is a startup, and they've developed a short course that's 8 weeks long. I was actually part of their pilot program, and it was really great. You get a lot of mentoring from industry experts, and not only do you learn the foundations of blockchain and the fundamentals of blockchain, but you actually get hands-on experience on how to develop a proof of concept. So by the end of that 8-week course, you will actually have a business strategy that you can take back to your company and further develop. Yeah,
I think that's a great point as well around teaching people what use cases are relevant for a blockchain. So blockchain can't solve everyone's problems, but there's specific use cases that it lends itself well to, and they're the ones that are worth exploring and going deeper on. And I know at Accenture we it's not just about deploying a blockchain and walking away, it's part of a bigger over-organizational strategy change, essentially.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing that we learn is not just where can blockchain be applied, but also where is blockchain not particularly useful. Because there is a bit of hype around it, but there are quite a few hurdles to adoption for blockchain as well. So things like cost and regulatory reasons. But all of that, as time goes on, it is getting better and better. Australia is creating quite a few regulations around it, and there's more clarity around it. But I suppose one area where we still need a bit of work is because blockchain is so distributed and decentralized. If something goes wrong, there's not like one company that you can just call and just have your problem solved. So I think more innovation and more problem solving is going to be needed in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a space for a lot of innovation at the moment. We're seeing established players try and move into blockchain, as well as new startups coming and attacking the space. So I think initially the low-hanging fruit was financial services companies that were really going heavily into blockchain. And now as the technology is maturing more, we're seeing other industries go into it. So for example, transport with logistics, healthcare, you were mentioning telecommunications companies before. So I think the space is rapidly growing. I think even travel is being disrupted now through companies like Airstays. So it's pretty amazing to see how quickly the space is growing and all the different verticals that are being disrupted from one technology essentially.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think at the start, financial services and banking, that was an area where you could clearly see blockchain value. But I think people are starting to realize more and more that there are quite a few other areas, especially anywhere where there's a number of intermediaries or number of companies that need to work together that don't necessarily trust each other and that need to access the same amount of the same data. I think blockchain can really help in that space. And one other area is supply chain and also tracking of products. Right now, it's quite hard to track a product from start to finish. As consumers, it's very hard to know where the product that you're using is actually coming from. And especially where ethics is involved in things like diamond trading, for example. So now consumers can actually see where their product is from and make an informed decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's obviously a lot of opportunity out there. People tuning in, what's the best way for them to get into blockchain or start learning about it?
Right. So if you have an interest in blockchain, I would definitely suggest that in your free time, just go and learn about the technology. There's so many resources out there, both within Accenture and just on the internet as well. Just Google it. And if you are within Accenture and you're interested in working with the blockchain, I would suggest that you raise it up with your leads or your career counselor and just let them know and then actively pursue projects within blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because it has been so community driven, there are so many great resources online.
Yeah.
So that's a good starting point. But then now there's also institutions coming into the game as well, like RMIT. So that course is publicly available as well, that people can take and actually get some more formal training in blockchain technology.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
I think we might just go over to Facebook and see if there's any questions coming up there.
Fantastic.
Just one moment while we have a look at Facebook and see if we can answer some of your questions.
Yeah, perfect. So we've got a question here from Rory asking if there's been much movement from banking clients moving towards blockchain projects. Obviously, we can't talk specifically about any clients, but there's definitely been a lot of interest from the banking sector. I think especially because Bitcoin was the first killer use case for blockchain. It definitely piqued their interest and they saw it as a disruptive technology, so they're looking at ways they can adopt it to find efficiencies within their business. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, and beyond that as well, there's quite a few other areas where Accenture is looking to help communities, like ID 2020, for example. It's a global initiative. Accenture's involved, Microsoft's involved, the UN is involved as well, and quite a few other players. And what they're trying to do is create digital identities for pretty much everyone, especially those who don't have proper identification right now. And yeah, I think that one's going to be a big project, and I'll be interested to see where that goes.
Absolutely. Ruben's asking for some more specific use cases around supply chain. There's nothing we can talk about yet. I will say that clients are doing proof of concepts at the moment to explore the technology and get a deeper understanding. And they'll be, hopefully, depending on the outcome of that, looking to roll it into production. I'm not sure if you work for Accenture or not, but if you do, please reach out to your please reach out to your DT lead or your careers counsellor, and they can put you in touch with the right information.
Yeah, blockchain is just, it's so new right now. If you compare blockchain to the internet, you can think of it as you're back in like mid-90s, where the internet had been around for a while, and there was a lot of excitement within the technical community, but the general public hadn't yet realized the full potential of blockchain. And I think that's where we're at. So a lot of version 1 blockchains are ready and they're going to have a big impact in the future. But yeah, there's just not that many projects just out there right now. Yeah.
AJ's asking, how does Accenture differentiate itself from other players in the market? It's a great question.
Yeah, I think Accenture, we're such a global company and we have a lot of resources across the world. In fact, I was actually recently working with a team from Bangalore on the blockchain use case that I've been working on. So I think one area where Accenture really stands out is that we can utilize blockchain resources and knowledge from across the globe rather than just one space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think taking a holistic approach to a blockchain implementation as well. So like I was saying, it's not just about implementing a blockchain, setting and forgetting. There's a whole bunch of change management, process uplift that goes along with that. Blockchain's not going to solve all of your problems out of the box. So I think that's something that Accenture can uniquely offer its clients, that we can come in and look at it from a whole organisation point of view, and even if there's a number of organisations that need to be involved to get the most value out of the blockchain, we can sort of help coordinate that across an industry.
Yeah, definitely.
Are we hiring in the blockchain space? Yes, Accenture's always hiring, especially in the blockchain space at the moment. It's a key area of interest for the company from a strategic level. So yeah, there's definitely opportunities there. Please reach out to our careers website to find out more information there.
Yeah, actually, I read that Accenture is the one place where the most number of blockchain roles exist right now. So yeah, that was pretty cool to read actually. So,
That's very cool. Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, and I know interest internally is really ramping up. We had a community event for blockchain just a couple of weeks ago, and we had 180 people in Australia attend that. So that was pretty amazing, and I think there's a lot of people looking to cross skills. So even if your background hasn't been in blockchain yet, if you upskill in it and then learn more through resources like RMIT, there's definitely opportunity for everyone in blockchain at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Just going through some more questions here. RMIT training for Hyperledger from a tech point of view. So there's the one at the moment is more strategy and business focused and use cases for the blockchain. However, I believe there are more courses in development, and there are obviously a lot of publicly available resources as well. But Accenture does do a lot of work with Hyperledger.
Yeah. So yeah, the first one focuses more on how we can actually develop a proof of concept on paper rather than actually coding anything up. But yeah, I think that a second version is going to be coming out at some point.
Yeah, one thing I will add, a lot of collaboration is actually happening in the industry at the moment between education institutions, even big players within the industry. So we've obviously partnered with Microsoft for the ID 2020. So there's a lot of collaboration from a lot of different big tech companies around the world, but also small players in the Australian startup ecosystem.
Yeah, we actually also are involved with Hyperledger, and we also have the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. So yeah, Accenture is really focusing on blockchain and trying to expand where we can. Yeah.
All right, well, I think that about does it. Thank you everyone for your time. If you have any more questions, please feel free to keep sending them through, and we'll take on best effort to get back to everyone. I believe there will be another one of these on the couch sessions coming up in a month or two around cybersecurity, so please tune in then. Thanks everyone.
All. Bye.